welcome back to Live Air Show TV's all-day coverage of Sun and Fun 2019. I'm Mark Allen, along with my co-host Rick Peterson, and I posed a question before the break. What does our next guest have in common with Chuck Yeager, Jimmy Doolittle, and Neil Armstrong? As of 2016, Lee Lauderback became a member of the Society of Experimental Test Pilots. What was that experience like?
Mark, first off, great to be here with you, and Rick, good to see you again. And to be honest with you, is one of the things that I just really took a lot of pride and honor in, to be in the Society of Experimental Test Pilots and some of the work that I've done, and not being a military test pilot, it was very, very special.
But you are more notable to many people in the aviation community for an aircraft called Crazy Horse, a TF-51 Mustang, dual control. And explain how the inspiration for that came about.
Well, Mark, that's right. As you know, the P-51 Mustang is just such an iconic aircraft. And as a little kid, I sort of grew up building models and you know, sort of dreaming of flying that kind of airplane. And then you might call it a moment of insanity sort of came across me, and made a big dive into making this a reality with the Navy Test Pilot School.
And 10,000 hours later, Lee, Tuesday here at Sun and Fun, 10,000th hour in a Mustang.
Well, thank you I'll tell you what, you guys will identify with this. I just went out there and said, don't mess it up now.
Have you been watching what I've been doing today?
This is actual footage of that moment as you passed through 10,000 hours in a Mustang. Nobody's put that much time in a Mustang. You started to talk about, as you were conversing about taking the dive and going in, they've given me a mug here from all of the souvenirs that you can get at this great event, that it says, "Caution, aviation can be hazardous to your wealth." And it is true, but you have invested in Mustangs. People come to you now to be mentored to fly in them. How does that feel when you know about the history of that airplane, too?
Well, Rick, it's such a privilege to get to fly the Mustang, and I've just been honored to fly it a lot. And, you know, I was kidding about the 10,000 hour mark. Well, if you took a chimpanzee and put him in the Mustang for 32 years, he'd probably have 10,000 hours also. So this is a team that put me into a place that allowed me to fly the airplane a lot, fly it safely, and that's the key. And I'll tell you, it's been... take a lot of pride in just having the honor of flying the Mustang. Not in combat like the real guys did, but my blessing is I've got to fly it for fun and meet so many incredible guys that did it. Robin Olds and Bud Anderson. Those are real treasures in my life.
When we were talking earlier this week, you told me something that my jaw dropped on. You told me that you have 3 hours of engine off time in the Mustang. Why in the world?
Mark, that's it. It started as a flight test program, in that all the manuals in the World War II days, they didn't have time to do extended flight tests. So we took upon ourselves to develop a glide flight test program. And as you know, the Merlin engine being water glycol cooled, you can't really shock cool it. So go to 12,000 feet, completely shut the engine down, pull the prop all the way back, and then glide for the next 7 minutes, getting test data. And I started to accumulate how many times I've done that little sawtooth glide, and by golly, it exceeded 3 hours. I'll go like, now that I take a lot of pride in.
And 3 hours without power, yeah.
Yeah, that seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? But that also explains why you're in the Society of Experimental Test Pilots.
Well, the curiosity and taking the knowledge that we've developed in programs like that and then bringing it out to the public and check out training programs is just really a way of giving back. And the key is, how can you continue to fly these airplanes in a very safe, professional manner? So that's what we try to push forward.
That's a big deal, too. I just want to know what the feeling, Mark, is, because you've spent so much time. I've never been in a P-51. I admire them. I love the airplane. But that power, I've read authors like Richard Bach who writes poetically about it, and yet it can be nasty and unforgiving. All of that torque, that big engine, and to consider that people in their early 20s, you know, were actually flying these things after basically jumping out of some other trainer and into it for the very first time. What does it feel like when you put the power up and that thing starts to lift off the ground?
as you know, it's a very, very high performance airplane, especially for the time period that it was developed. And even today, I mean, it would categorize as exceptional performance in that technology. So I can't help but smile. It just really, you know, when I start a demo and I'm just going like, wow, you know, and it just hang on, this is going to be fun.
It never ceases to amaze you.
And in some of the footage that we're showing again here, because you can never have too much P-51 footage. I could sit there all day and watch it. We're going to see a second Mustang creep into the shot. Tell us about Crazy Horse 2.
Well, Crazy Horse 2, you know, we started in 1987 about, you know, flying the airplane and keeping it very busy. You put a lot of time on it, and we realized that for redundancy and backup, we actually needed another aircraft in our line. So I've got two twin brothers that, you know, they fix everything I break. They build airplanes, and this is one of the airplanes, Crazy Horse 2, that they actually built. And the owner at that time had a medical issue, and so we took one more plunge into your coffee cup theme, and you know, went one step further into Crazy Horse 2. So we keep both those airplanes going, and you know, it was like, what are we going to name it? You know, and Crazy Horse was so popular. I'm going, I'll fix that. So it's Crazy Horse to the second power.
There you go.
Well, okay, I like that better. But this is not just about rides. This is all about training, because you are all about safety in everything that you do in your entire aviation platform. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, Mark, you're right. You know, people come up, can I get a ride the Mustang? The answer is no, actually you can't, but we'll give you an opportunity to fly the airplane. So all of our stuff is done from a military style. So if you came in to fly with us, first off, you would go through a very extensive briefing. Then we'd walk down to the aircraft, walk the aircraft and talk systems, cockpit brief. Then we'd go fly, and then a debrief. So it's not something you jump in and jump out. It's something that's an experience, and that all compounds to doing it as safe as you possibly can.
And that's another Central Florida thing that you can do if you come to visit here, because you're just up the road at Kissimmee. And beyond Disney World, to be able to put yourself into one of these airplanes is an experience you can do if you're visiting Central Florida.
Well, that's right. It's the ultimate e-ticket ride.
There you go.
Now, you've also expanded your operation to include a platform on aviation medicine. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Mark, you're correct. We're one of the few civilian operations in the world that actually have a full-time flight surgeon on our staff. And Dr. William Bush has been key for the last 14 years bringing that in. And so why do we have an aeromedical guy in our staff? One is for our pilots and for wellness program. Two is he is one of the top senior AMEs in the country now and really specializes in special issuance. And so we've made a business out of it. AvDoc 51 has just really gained a good reputation for coming in. Doc is a dual designated flight surgeon, so he understands it from a pilot standpoint, which is so important. And you know, we bring that skill set. Keeping you in the cockpit is the goal, not trying to get you out.
I actually had a conversation with him the other day, and he was very helpful, because I said, when I get my cell phone into the selfie mode like this, it really hurts my arm. And he gave me great advice. He said, don't do that.
Well, really humorous, when he got certified, the FAA goes through a whole process, and they found out he was actually on the airport. They're going, wait a minute, you're on the airport? Are you working out of the trunk of your car? So if you think about it, when you actually come to an airport, you can fly in for your flight physical or your meeting with Doc versus going to a doctor's office. What a novel concept.
Works for me.
Yeah, I want to make sure people know how to reach you, Lee. It's Stallion51.com. That's the best way to reach you through the site.
Way, yes.
And I'm going to brag on you just a little bit and embarrass you, because you're a very humble guy by nature. But he has just about every award that you can have for air showmanship, including the International Council of Air Show's Sword of Excellence, which is a lifetime achievement award for contributions to the air show industry in so many different ways. Lee's congratulations for that you were awarded that in 2017. And thank you for making time to join us today.
It's always special being with you. And Rick, what a great honor to be on stage with you.
Oh, stop it.
Oh, yes. He's made me bow the entire day off camera. Yeah, he's used to
There's
this.
a story behind this.
And even better, he didn't pick on me.
We'll step away for just a moment.
I'll let you get away with it. If you move fast, I won't bring the